Okay, here we go. I do apologize, guys. For those of you who are waiting in the other link, I actually started the stream and I didn't start the correct one. So I had one that was scheduled and I just kind of started one. So there's some people that jump into the other stream and there are people that are waiting here. So um, apologize for that. I did open the first tier already, and did my whole spiel, the introduction. So we're just gonna talk about it as we go. So went for the first tier, didn't get anything, and we are going to open up the second and third tiers. And then we're gonna talk about what we're gonna do for this upcoming event, which is a hunt for the crystal egg, and it's going to be it's going to be Easter event, so Easter coming up this weekend. So for those of you who celebrate it, hope you have a good celebration here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and open up the second tier here. I do have a pre-made deck, like I pre-built it before this event started, because I wasn't sure what the deck is going to look like, and I think that with this deck, it actually seems like it might work out pretty well together. And so I was actually missing this card right here, Soul of the Benedicta. So I'm actually missing this card for myself. So that's actually good. I pulled it. Although I do kind of also wish at the same time it was a different gold card, because I mentioned that I have enough to craft one card. So if I get one of these cards, I might choose to craft the other one. And so again, just wanted to say hi to everybody in the chat. So we got Cask W, William Kessler, and also Nickerson. So got this one card that was missing, so I didn't have this. So now my collection is complete. And now let's go ahead and see if we can keep our fingers crossed, hope for the best in tier 3, because this is also an event where you're going to get a free star upgrade. So from 1 star, you automatically go up to 2 stars. So I might actually choose to craft this event because I think the deck looks pretty good. And so we've got the name of the axe is called Bunny Basher. So that's the relic here. So we got a main event relic, and that is the soul right there. And let's see, so we got Bonada and another Benedicta. So I went from having 0 to now pulling 2 of these cards. So I get these gold cards, but they're not from this particular event. And I think that's going to be it. So unfortunately, no card for me to be able to craft an ultimate form this event. But I will be able to talk about it because I think it's pretty good. And so Cass W, once again, thank you so much for the donation. And glad you're enjoying the stream here. And so let's see. So tomorrow is 6-year anniversary from my first video. Oh wow! I didn't actually know that. I did not actually know. My goodness, has it been 6 years since my very first video? I think my very first video was for the game World of Zombination, when I was just kind of doing this on my laptop. Has it been really that long? My goodness. Well, thanks for reminding me. That's actually a really cool walk down the memory lane. And I'm glad I'm your favorite streamer. Wow, thank you so much. I try my best. Okay, so didn't get anything this event, but I did get 2 Benedicta, so that means I am going to be able to actually forge, I think, an ultimate form here. Let's take a look. So if we choose to go by age, and we can also talk about this one, right? So I got 2 copies of Benedicta this event. If I try and evolve, yeah, so I did get one of the Solo Champion of the Dead. So I do have one, but I couldn't actually forge it because I don't have enough Earth Slayer dust. So let's see. This is a Beast Killer though, so at least I have a Beast Killer boost, but this is kind of an older one. Where this ultimate form, I'm trying to see if this is going to be useful in this particular event. Basically, it gets 2 Power Gem Force every time you attack, and then you increase some Earth Slayer hero attack. But this one requires skill points, so this is old, okay? So the maximum amount of attack boost is 30%. This is back in the day when they didn't want to give you very good skills, because they thought that the cards would be powerful enough to make up for the lack of skills. But then, of course, we know what happened there. They basically made the boss so tanky that you have to get Power Gem 6s, 8s, 12s, etc. to be able to deal more damage. So not going to be the most useful card, but if you do have it, we will look for a way to see if there's something we can do to make it work for you. So let's take a look at the cards themselves. Okay, so let's talk about the cards. We will see how it works in sort of like the overall deck mechanic for a Slayer event, how good it is. I'll give my assessment of whether or not it is a deck that I think has future utility, and then we'll go from there. So Royal Rabbits, this is the ultimate form, and the ability here, they're reusing this mechanic where you store the damage and then nuke it. Okay, so we'll take a look at the battle skill. So it deals double the stored damage of this hero's strongest attack, and so whatever damage you deal, it's always going to store the highest one for the entire duration of your attack, and then once you activate your battle skill, it will then deal double that. All right, so let's say your highest damage, was 50, then the next attack you deal 100. When you activate it, you'll be able to then deal 200. But because it is, when you activate it, it only deals your previous damage. It makes it so that you will not be able to use this battle skill on turn 0. Okay, in other words, like when the battle starts, you will not be able to apply this battle skill, so you can't really use this to quickly get MVP before someone else attacks. So that's something to consider here. In a Slayer event, you cannot use this battle skill at the very, very beginning to double your damage, because you haven't dealt any damage just yet. And so you're not going to be able to rely on that. So how will you be able to get MVP quickly? Let's take a look at the rest of the skills. You can increase your Slayer attack by 50%. Okay, so there's a little bit of a buff there. You can also resist 10% of the damage taken from your enemy attack for 3 full turns. It is stackable, so if you have multiple cards that can resist damage, that will stack, so you'll be able to get less damage taken. But given it's 10%, you're not going to be able to completely be immune. Okay, so they've made sure that you cannot be immune to damage. It's a couple of 3 passive abilities. The first one is it'll always create 4 Power Gem 4s at the beginning of every turn. It also, so this is one where it stores the largest attack in the battle, and you can copy it and double it. So only this card will be able to double that damage. And then the third passive ability, whenever a hero reduces your damage taken or makes you invulnerable, okay, creates 3 Earth Power Gem 6s. So this card will power itself up. So when you activate the battle skill, you're going to get 3 additional Power Gems. And then you're also going to be able to get it from any other card that gives a damage boost or attack boost or something that gives you invulnerability. So all of these will give you additional Power Gems. So the passive ability is actually pretty good in terms of the ability to create Power Gems. And so you could make a choice. You could activate it just for all of those bonuses. But then keep in mind that it has a 3-turn cooldown, so you will not be able to use it the very next turn. In a Slayer event, 3-turn cooldown is actually quite slow at this point. And so if you choose to activate it right away, you're going to have to wait 3 full turns before you can use it again. And by that time, you probably will not be able to get MVP for someone else's boss anymore. Maybe later when Radiant bosses come out, maybe. But for this particular event, I don't know that's going to be possible. And I'll talk about the reason why. So Chaos is going to be one of the 3 sort of counters that we're going to have to provide here. Let's take a look at the other cards there. And so we will start with a Master Collection card, Princess Lepide, or Lepide. Okay, and the battle skill here will increase the attack by 50%. So combined, we're now at 100% attack boost, and this also resists damage. So this card is going to power up your ultimate form as well. When you activate it, you're going to get 3 additional Power Gem 6s. And then the passive ability also creates 4 Power Gems at the beginning. So with these 2 cards, Ultimate Form and Master Collection card, you're going to generate 8 Power Gem 6s right at the beginning. And so you could theoretically start with a pretty good amount of damage right from the start without relying on the double nuke. Okay, or not, I should say double nuke, the double damage from your nuke attack. But I think that, because you can see from my banner, big nuclear attack, like, because of the possibility from this particular event, I think that if you're able to survive, a couple of hits without the boss dying, you have a very good shot at getting MVP for yourself. Okay, and so we can talk about that. So Lago, Glade Guardian, is going to be your ultra rare card, and this card gives you also the nuke. So you have 2 cards that can do nuke, your ultimate form and your ultra rare card. And the passive ability is the same. It stores the largest attack, and also whenever somebody reduces your damage, you're going to create power gems. So the Master Collection card will power this card as well as the Ultimate Form, while this card will also deal double. So like all three of them sort of combined will give you 2 nukes, and altogether you can get 6 power gems, 3 from the ultra rare card, and I think was it 3 from the ultimate form, and 3 from the ultimate form. So 6 every time you for every time that you get immunity or damage boost, you're gaining 6 each time. So depending on what you put in the other 2, you could actually create quite a bit of power gems, and then you can gem crush a lot. All right, and so that's the ultra rare card. And let's see, the Master Collection card has Slumber. So Slumber is going to suck because it is going to cause all of your passive abilities to not work. None of these cards have, the passive ability that makes it so you cannot be silenced. So that means Slumber is going to be a problem for all of these passive abilities that give you additional power gems. And I'm not even sure if the passive ability for storing damage gets impacted by Slumber. That is actually something interesting to check. Like, what happens if you don't have a card that dispels Slumber and then you get hit by it? Does that mean that your damage is not getting stored? So that's something to check out. I don't have the card, unfortunately, but it is something I would like to see. Okay, and so that is basically the big 3. We got Dodge, Slumber, and also I forgot the third one. Slumber, Dodge, and Chaos. Those are things that we have to watch out for. Now let's take a look at the event card and also the support card to round out the team. So the event card is Hereditas, a Metal Champion, and its battle skill will increase Earth Slayer attack by 20%. So this card is going to power up your ultimate form, and it also resists damage. Okay. Now I don't know if the fact that it's a increased attack and also damage resist, if it's going to power up twice. Oh no, I think it's only when you get damage resist, that's when you get additional power gems. So this is going to power up your ultimate form and your ultra rare card, and then it also creates 3 power gem 4s at the beginning of every turn. And so not too bad for an event card. You get passive power gem spawns every single turn, but again, it is going to be weak to Slumber. And let's see if this card is going to dispel Slumber, but this card does dispel Slumber, so that is going to be useful. And then we have Lancer Lago, which is the support card, and surprise surprise, it creates 10 earth gems with a 3-turn cooldown, and it heals at the beginning of every turn. And so it is, a very basic support card, and this one will dispel chaos. So far, what do I think about this deck overall? Well, I think that it's not too bad from the passive ability. As far as the gem spawn ability goes, it's actually not too bad. I think that it actually will give you lots of power gems from the beginning. And it's one of those chaining decks, right? Where as long as you activate the correct battle skills, every damage, reduction or invulnerability that you activate, you're going to also spawn more power gems. That's what's going to allow you to gem crush into bigger power gems and potentially get you into a nice board where you can create a lot of power gems. Not power gem, create a big damage. Then you can use that damage and then do a double. So what are the cards that you should consider to use along with that? So I think you should definitely use the Ultimate Form, the Master Collection card, and the Ultra Rare card. You should use at least those 3. Although I do wonder if maybe you can pull out one of them, because the other 2 cards that you're going to want, the first one is going to be Protectors of Prosperity. That is going to be one of the 2 cards I think you should run with it, just because this card will give you an additional 2,000% attack boost when you activate this card. Okay, so this card is going to give all Earth Slayers a 2,000% attack boost, which is going to be really big. And then you add on top of that Jailors, right? So Jailors is an obvious choice because it's Arcane Killer event here. So this card is going to give you also an additional 1200% for every turn delay that you have. Now, if you take a look at this particular event deck, there is no turn delay anywhere. Okay, so this deck doesn't do any turn delays, so it's not going to power up Jailors. Jailors going to have to power up itself. And so if you wanted to go with that route, you know, the big amount of Slayer attack is going to be very useful for dealing more damage, and then when you deal the damage, then you can apply that and you can nuke it for twice the amount. Well, that is going to be helpful, but here's the thing, right? This still will not deal as much damage as Hardwon Guerillas, which can deal 5 times the nuke. And so in my opinion here, because it's a double nuke, it's, you know, you activate it for the double nuke. What that means is, you know, you would get all of your attack boost and you're going to do your attack, and then the very next turn you can activate it for, you know, double that card damage. It's the same basically as, you know, doing your biggest damage, getting all of your attack boost with Hardwon Guerillas, and then it's going to do the nuke for you the next turn. It's going to be exactly the same. So when all things considered, the Hardwon Guerillas will actually deal more nuke damage because in a situation where the damage is the same. Okay, so let's say you achieved in the very, very beginning your biggest amount of damage on turn 1. If you compare the two, Hardwon Guerillas is going to deal more damage because it has 5 times damage boost. However, it doesn't store the largest damage, and so subsequent attacks, Royal Rabbits will be more consistent. Like, you'll store the largest one, you'll always be able to attack for that amount every 3 turns. Not a guarantee with, not going to be a guarantee with Hardwon Guerillas, especially if, let's say, your attack boost does not proc. Okay, so that's sort of like the benefit of Royal Rabbits. It's not going to attack for as much compared to Hardwon Guerillas, but it's a lot more consistent. So that is something to consider there. And so for me, without the event deck, I think that what you really want to make sure you run is Protectors of Prosperity. You want to go with Jailors. There's no good Earth Slayer turn delay deck. That's the only thing. There's no good turn delay cards for Earth Slayer, so you're going to have to get it from Commander or other cards. The best one is going to be the Defiant Duet if you have it. There's a lot of other cards that give you turn delay also. But the Defiant Duet, what this card does is it's a commander card. What it does is if you activate it, then every time you activate a turn delay card, this will also create more power gems. And so you're going to get more power gems on your board, which will help out. Now, you don't have to run the Defiant Duet. You can actually run Tuath, for example, the Master Collection card of this version, or you can run Consecrated Wizardess. So you could do either way. It really won't really matter as much. It's just that running Defiant Duet gives you a little bit more power gems at the beginning. So it's a little bit more effective. But if you don't have it, I would say just use either of these Master Collection card or Ultra Rare card along with Jailors, and you should get lots and lots of really nice boost. For me, another card that you're going to want to bring in here is Reaping Royalty. So Reaping Royalty is a card that will dispel a buff for the boss and also cleanse all of your debuffs. So in this case, this will cleanse Slumber. All right, so this card will be able to dispel Slumber, and that is really what it's for. It also creates Power Gem 5s whenever you dispel, and then it also creates Power Gems at the beginning of every turn. So a really, really helpful card for just like a general purpose. Like I've been finding myself enjoying a lot of these cards that have the dispel and cleanse abilities. It wasn't quite, as well perceived at the beginning, but as I play more and more, I think that it's actually really good. And then finally, Hardwon Guerillas for me, well, I have it at 4 stars now, and so this actually will provide more damage boost than, I think it's 10 times, given it's an older card. Right, so it's so the empowered one gives me 10,000%, right? So 10,000% instead of 9,000%. So I'm actually going to be able to deal a little bit more damage in this particular setup for this. Relics wise, I'm just using the very, very basic relics from the Jailors event. You can do any mix and matches as you like, as long as you can get, make sure that you can stop 7 shields. That's all you're really looking for. Let's take a look at the comments here. So we've got, let's see, you think that this deck needs a booster like all events? Yeah, so every single deck will need boosters, and we have the older ones. That's what we're looking for now. And Androgyls, you found it to be quite slow, even though you have a 2 stars. And I think that's going to be the challenge for this particular event deck, is mostly on the speed. So there's another card that we saw before. That was a fire event. Okay, so that was a fire event that was a fire commander event. Forget the name now. Steel Force. So Steel Force had the same ability, but it was a 1-turn cooldown. So if you remember this particular deck, you could activate it every single turn afterwards, and you could just like nuke down every single turn. If this was in Slayers, you would basically be able to apply your attack, and then every turn afterwards you can just go ahead and use it. So I think the reason why it's not 1-turn cooldown is because it is way too powerful in a Slayer event where you're competing. You're just going to be seeing like non-stop nukes all over the place. Okay, so that is something to consider there, and that's the reason why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly go to a Legend Trial. We're gonna play with this particular setup. I don't have the event card. I only have 1 support card, unfortunately, so I can't really showcase anything. But what I am going to do is I am going to try out the cards. Okay, try out the deck I just showed to sort of show you how it would play out. So I'm gonna go ahead and summon a water boss here, and then we're gonna go and battle it. So what I'm going to show here is really just how my deck works out. It's pretty simple actually, and I'll kind of talk about the order that I've placed the cards as well, so you can sort of see what things to consider when you're playing this type of deck. And so Reaping Royalty, that's the ultimate form. If you don't have it, you can use, I think the ultra rare card is going to work for the cleanse also. It's placed on the far left because I wanted to make sure that I cleanse everything, including slumber, whatnot, first. Then the very next card that you want to activate is going to be a Defiant Duet, because that's the card that has the passive ability that says for every turn delay that you activate, it will create more power gems. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and just kind of show you. I'm going to activate it here. Now turn delay, it powers itself, creates more, and then Protectors of Prosperity gives it the attack boost. Then of course we have Jailors that gives a further attack boost. So far we have 2 stacks of attack boost right now. We have 2,000% from Protectors of Prosperity, and then additional 2,400 from Jailors plus Defiant Duet. A total of 4,200 attack boost. So it is going to do, it's going to power up Hardwon Guerillas by a lot, because that is the only card in here that is a Slayer, Arcane Slayer card. Now cards like Jailors is going to get a little bit of a boost, but because it is a commander card, it isn't going to deal as much damage. So in this particular setup, I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket, and that is Hardwon Guerillas. Okay, and yes, that pun was intended. It is going to be an Easter event, so putting all of my eggs in one basket, that is the pun there. Okay, so you can also activate it this way. So Jailors has not yet activated, but because I was able to activate the Defiant Duet, I at least get 1 stack of damage there. So you can see 2.8 trillion for this card. Okay, for Hardwon Guerillas, it was single key 2.8 trillion compared to all the other cards. Now that is not including the 6 times Slayer damage boost. So I'm going to be able to dish out quite a bit of damage just with this card alone. The only challenge is if you're running Jailors, if you're running, I didn't get any gems there now. If you're running Jailors and the Defiant Duet combination, the challenge you're going to run into is after your initial hit, you're going to have to wait 6 turns before you can do that again. And so it is an even slower deck. Okay, it's an even slower deck than the current event deck. Okay, and so that if you can't defeat the boss on the first turn, then you're going to have to basically go quickly for 6 turns before you can do it again. You can speed this up if you want by changing out the Divine Duet. So some of the other options, I think somebody already mentioned in there, there's like Yorn Swarmers is one. And so if you take a look here, Earth, like I said, there is no good Earth Slayer cards that give you turn delay, but cards that you can use, for example, Yorn Swarmers is one, but not a lot of people have that. I don't think I actually have this card. So I'm going to go into the codex. So this is a card that you probably have, you can buy back. It is going to be a commander deck. And what was it? I can't remember anymore what type it was, but it is Hercules. Okay, so Hercules is also another card that gives you turn delay. And this card has a turn delay, 3-turn cooldown. And so what this does is it works well in terms of lining up with your Protectors of Prosperity. And so I don't know if I have it. Let's take a look. I should have just bought it back if I had it. There's higher likelihood that I simply just sold it all. Yeah, I don't think I would have it still. So, oh no, I do have it. So here's an example, right? So I can put Hercules in here. So let's go ahead and swap it out. And it is a Honor. That's what I was forgetting. Okay, so if you don't have Divine Duet, it is going to be a weaker setup, like I said. But honestly, if you have Jailors, you shouldn't use that. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to, but if you have like Consecrated Wizardess, if you just have the ultra rare card, then you can possibly do something like that. So I'm going to show you the first option, and that is without Divine Duet, you should go with either Consecrated Wizardess or Guad. Consecrated Wizardess will basically power up whenever a turn delay activates, whereas Guad will do turn delay on its own. Kind of the same, but Guad overall will create more power gems. As your arcane intensity increases, I think it increases. No, this one will only create 5. Is it Consecrated Wizardess that will create more? Let's take a look. So Consecrated Wizardess. Okay, so Consecrated Wizardess will create 5 Power Gem 2s, but then it creates more for every 100 Arcane Killer Intensity. So technically this gives you more, and whenever you activate a turn delay, it's going to give you also 1200%. So that's why in general, it's probably better to run Consecrated Wizardess. But in this case, if you're not looking to increase your Arcane Intensity by a lot, you're getting Power Gem 3s rather than Power Gem 2s. So the trade-off is Power Gem 3 or 2. Honestly, it doesn't matter at this point, because we're dealing with Power Gem 6s and 7s and 12s and whatnot. The difference between Power Gem 3s and 2s aren't going to be too big in terms of like what it can upgrade. And so to me, it depends on, is it going to be a sort of a setup where you're going to be able to get more than 100 intensity, then go with Consecrated Wizardess. Otherwise, just go with Guad and you can kind of get it over with. So this is a setup without Defiant Duet. And this is a setup with, where did it go? This is going to be your setup if you have only Consecrated Wizardess. Okay, and I'm going to set this to Honored. Here's like one example, right? So you could do it this way, but if you're going to be running Hercules, you're still going to have to wait 3 turns. So you might as well go ahead and use, if you have it, is it creature? No, spirit. Another one that not many people have it because it's not a card that you can farm. If you're going to do that, then you might as well just do Yorn Swarmers. And so Yorn Swarmers, what you get out of this is every single turn, as long as you can get 20 gems matched, you'll be able to do a turn delay. So every time you turn delay, so like what this will do is it will give you a charge rate of 20 gems. You can cool down. It has a 1-turn cooldown, and you can slow for 2 turns. Okay, so your boss is going to have a 2-turn cooldown. Another one is also, I think I have it. Another one that you can use is Avatar Disguise, a little bit stronger. And this one will activate a wave. So this one works better in like a Crusade format, where this one will slow all enemies for 2 turns, but it has a higher gem count. Requires 24 gems instead of 20. And so what you can get out of these is every turn you'll be able to do a turn delay, and then every single turn you'll be able to activate Consecrated Wizardess to give your arcane attack by 100% boost. You won't be able to use Protectors of Prosperity every turn, but it's a 2-turn cooldown. And the only problem is this card has, it significantly drops. Okay, after the very first attack, it drops from 2000% down to 200%. So you're not going to get as much of a boost afterwards. That's why having Consecrated Wizardess or having Jailors is going to be useful. And so if we go back now to this deck, you'll see how this works out. Okay, so this is the deck that we're going to run this time. Like I said, if you don't have Reaping Royalty, you don't need to use it. You can use something else. It's just that for me, I don't have a card that dispels Slumber. And so that is the best card for me to be able to take care of that. And if you don't have the Ultimate Form, I think, and I can't remember, the ultra rare card, Anne, I think her name is Anne. I think she's the one that does the dispel. And so that's the one that you're going to be able to use. And so I'm going to try running this now with this setup so you can sort of see how, it's no different really, but it's just a little bit different. But you can see like there's a lot less power gems that you'll be able to spawn because of it. Defiant Duet makes a big difference because you can really fill the board up with power gems. And if you see the difference now, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to activate everything, and you can see the power gems difference. So this is with everything activated. It doesn't fill up the board. And so what happens here is you're not going to be able to deal as much damage, even though you're getting the boost from Consecrated Wizardess. So the best way to play is you'll want to wait until you get attacked. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and play again, and so I'm going to wait for the turn to reach down to 1, and I'll tell you the optimal way to play without Defiant Duet and with Reaping Royalty is to wait until you get hit, so that there is a buff or a debuff that you need to get rid of. Then you activate Reaping Royalty, because this will at least get you 6 power gems. So you get 6 power gems here. You don't get anything from the turn delay, and then you will now get 200% for Protectors of Prosperity, and then 1200 for Consecrated Wizardess. So the nice thing about Jailors / Consecrated Wizardess is you are getting a consistent attack boost, whereas Protectors of Prosperity starts with 2000 and then it drops down to 200. Another way you can do it though is if you die. If you lose all of your health and then revive and come back, well, it resets to 2000 again. So another thing you could do is technically if you just simply let yourself get killed, then you'll be able to reset it so you can get the 2000% attack again. So unlikely scenario, given that it's a Slayer event, unlikely you're going to need to revive to take advantage of the additional boost, because the boss is not going to live long enough unless it's your own solo boss that you're trying to take down. So let's take a look and see what we get here. Got a commander. What was that? I think I got a water card. It went by so fast I didn't actually recognize it. So hold on a second. Let me take a look and see what it got. Aurora Materna. One of my favorite cards that I really was looking for a long time. Haven't had it. Didn't get it for a very long time. So I actually really like it. So let's see. What is everyone else saying here? We've got Jesse who's saying hi. Sorry, I missed that earlier. And let's see. William, could I please look at your cards and tell you what is the best way to go with the event deck? I guess we can quickly take a look there. Actually, in my guild, so it's like, let's take a look at your collection, and then we're going to take a look at the rest here. So before the vault came, they said everyone will get a free main card on the release day. Turns out it's only for returning heroes. Yep. They don't care about the people that actively are playing right now. So I showed you one option, showed you a couple of variations, but it ultimately all comes down to using Hardwon Guerillas and Jailors. This is the reason why I always suggest you get those cards if you can, because it will be very handy always. All right. And so let's see, you've got the Royal Rabbit. That's good. So you're going to be able to get a nice nuke But if you're just doing it, playing it on your on its own, it's not really going to deal that much damage because, like, double the amount of 1 trillion is still just 2 trillion, right? You need to get that 1 trillion up to 1 quadrillion in order to really take advantage of it. I'm just taking a look here. So you got Arboreal Overseers. So this one, if you use this card, every time you get hit, you're going to get a damage resist, which is going to power up your, which is also going to power up your own rabbits. Okay, royal rabbits. Keep in mind, every time you have a damage reduction, invulnerability, etc., you're going to get additional power gems. So you can power up there, and you are going to start with some gems there. So that is possibly a card that you can use, but ultimately what you need is a card that can give you some sort of a boost that will help here in order to take advantage of that. And so I see that you have Consecrated Wizardess. So that is one option you can run with. Like, you absolutely definitely need to do something in order to give yourself more damage. And so given that you don't have Jailors, my question would be whether or not you still have the coins to get yourself Guad so that you can get Jailors, because Jailors is going to be a better option because you can activate it and power itself up, whereas Consecrated Wizardess, you need to bring in a turn delay card. Okay, so that is something to watch out for. If you don't run this event deck with any booster, you're going to be at a very big disadvantage compared to everyone else. And so the other ones I'm looking for are, so I see you have Rashmi. So Rashmi is another card that you're going to want to bring in here. And so what I would say here is, given that you don't have Jailors just yet, my recommendation is you should probably look into getting it. And you have Kokopelli. All right, so you have the ultra rare card of the Defiant Duet, but the Defiant Duet the power of it is not just a turn delay, it's that it also gives you additional power gems every time you activate it. But if you have Consecrated Wizards, you have to put in something. So I would say Kokopelli, Consecrated Wizardess. Then you should put in your ultimate form, and then you should put in your I would say probably the ultra rare card, and then I would put in Rashmi, Consecrated Wizardess, Kokopelli, the ultimate form, and maybe the, let's take a look and see. This is Princess, which is the Master Collection card, right? So this one increases attack and resist damage, and it will create. I don't think you need the double. I don't think you need the second nuke. Okay, so Lago is the ultra rare card. This one will deal. This one will store the damage, and whenever you reduce. My recommendation is this: if you want the biggest amount of damage, you're going to want to run Royal Rabbits, Princess Lepide, your Consecrated Wizardess, Rashmi, and then a card that can give you turn delay. Kokopelli is an option. You have other cards that you can potentially go with as well. That's what I would recommend. Okay. So Cask W, will the damage store the ones dealt by the battle skill? So whatever you see, whatever damage you see that shows on your card that ends up damaging the boss, that is the damage that will be stored. And if it's whatever is highest throughout the battle gets stored there. And Luciano, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for joining us from all the way from Brazil. And let's see. So other questions here. John Wilson, Mel, greetings. Okay, thanks for joining us here. You also got the ultra rare card on tier 2. Congratulations. So Oliver, what do I think of the spring event? We'll be hunting for eggs once again, it seems like. So if we take a look at the newsfeed, I actually didn't take a look at the newsfeed here. So let's see what it's all about. So every year, this is my 4th year now playing this event with the Easter event, and every year, yep, there is the hunt for crystal egg. So we are going to have to search for eggs, right? Just because that's what you do in Easter. So let's see. 4 unique wardens are available for collection during the event. So you get so you have also 3 new heroes when you collect the The Grant Souls then forge together to craft the Woodland Concourse, a powerful GVG defender with all 3 defender skills. So it's kind of like the same thing where I think you're going to have to get all of these things throughout the event, and you can forge like maybe up to 3, or you can forge some for free, but then you're going to have to purchase using gems for like the missing one. What is this? They have a new birthright skill called Mute. So there's Alacrity, Weaken, and Mute. So Mute is a powerful skill which silences all battle skills no matter their effects. So it's kind of like Slumber. So there's Slumber and Mute. So Mute will silence all battle skills, whereas Slumber silences all passive skills, but it has no impact on passive skills or relics. So that means if you are muted, you will not be able to cleanse. Right? The battle skill that cleanses everything will be affected. So Mute, I'm not sure how you can. Oh no, there are cards that can cleanse through the passive ability, so you'll still be able to get around it. But this seems like it's going to be a relic, a warden that could cause some problems in GVG for sure. And this week only, the first player to unlock each of these new special wardens will get a special tree. The name is going to be on the back of that hero card. So hopefully you guys will be able to get there. For sure, it's not going to be me. And how you can hatch the wardens, let's see. So during the event, acquire these special crystal eggs. We already got one before the event started. Then you combine the eggs with the Easter eggs that we're going to find during the event, and we can hatch them. That is just so tiring. There's so many things to do, like every event. Like just reading this and just kind of thinking about like all of the things you have to do, I end up not doing a lot of it, to be honest with you. Like it's great if you like to grind, if you want to try and get some free heroes. That is a good way to get something. But for me, I generally don't get a chance to collect as many of those. I probably could if I try harder, but I get kind of tired 2 or 3 days into the event, so I don't end up doing that. And yeah, it says that the returning players, returning only, if you've quit, if you stop playing because you didn't like the game anymore, they're going to give you more cards. But if you stayed because you like the game, you don't get the cards that you need. So that's the way this game has worked, and not something I agree with. I've made this very clear. I dislike this whole, hey, if you stop playing and you come back, we're going to get you cards. For everybody else, spend the gems so you can get exactly what those people that left the game in the first place will have, right? So that's why I've stopped spending on this game, period. But I still talk about the cards because it is still fun for me, and I hope that you guys are, getting something valuable out of it. Let's see. So it's going to be... So Androgeus thinks it's going to be similar to Valentine's Day event. It's going to be the same. It's like the similar kind of thing. Anytime now where you have new wardens involved and you have to collect items and forge something, it's going to be very similar there. And so I'm going to, I guess, end with a summary here. I'm going to be ending this pretty soon. My feedback here is that we're going to get really, really nice nuclear damage here, both within the deck itself, or with the Hardwon Guerillas, just because of all the options we have for boosting. If you have the cards to boost, I think you will do just fine. If you don't have the boost for it, you're going to want to get it. Last chance to get it in the Proving Ground store, so something that will help you. And if you do get the event deck on its own, I think that the 3-turn cooldown is a little too slow. 2 turns would have been ideal. 3 turns, you're going to find it slow. I think it's going to be slow. And it's not really going to be that great without a booster in this event, because everyone else is going to be running a booster deck. Everyone's going to have boost. So if you don't have a boost, you're going to be at a big disadvantage. So expect quite a bit of sniping until we get to the Radiance. Then probably it's going to slow down, but at the lower level, anybody with the booster is going to be able to do more damage. Do I like this deck? Is it something I think that is really worth chasing after? I think that if you get the card and you want to get a 2-star, like a free upgrade to 2 stars, that is something that you can do. It's certainly going to be helpful in guild versus guild fights, I think, because if you can turn delay, right? If you're going to be able to turn delay with Jailors, then you're going to be fine with the 3-turn cooldown anyway. And so you're going to be able to nuke down those water defenders really easily with this deck with the setup. I'm pretty sure even the ones that are 4 stars, I would say, will probably be something you'll be able to take down with this setup, with the right cards, with the right turn delay, with Jailors, etc. So that's something I think you'll want to keep in mind. But besides that, it's not what I consider to be the type of deck that you're going to use in every event. I'm not sure it's going to be the type of deck that you're going to use every event, because keep in mind, you're not going to be able to use Jailors for every single I suppose you could for the Nuke, but I almost wonder if this will be useful in commander events, right? So the next thing to think about is Earth Commander Slayer, whether this card is going to be used or not. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, I would say I'll probably give it a 7. Just what I'm thinking right now. It could be 8, but it's definitely not something that I think is a must have. I think it's a relatively decent card to use, a decent team overall, but I think that with all the other options we have already, I'm looking forward to competing with it. So I don't think that it's going to give you that much more of a benefit compared to using some of the older decks. Whereas there are some decks out there that I've seen where it's like you must get it. This one doesn't scream that for me. I just think that it is it's a good card to have, but I wouldn't feel too bad if you don't get it. So that's my honest opinion there. Hope this helps. Sorry I couldn't show you how the deck works, but we've seen it in action before, and so it shouldn't be and it's not a difficult mechanic to understand, so hopefully it'll be fine. All right, so that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me here. And if I get people to show me how the deck works, somebody had mentioned that last stream, that is something I'm thinking about, like I could showcase as well. So if you have feel free to share it in my channel, in the network chat. Share with me whatever, and maybe what I can do is I can use that and kind of showcase how other people use the cards and what kind of setup they have. That's probably, in fact, you know what? I'm going to refine what I just said. Feel free to show me your favorite attack with your favorite deck during the event. And what I would do is I will go ahead and feature those videos in one of the videos next time. So this is a challenge for you guys. Feel free to tag me and show me your favorite attack, your favorite team, whatnot, and I'll pick a couple and I will compile a video next time to showcase, how the deck works, some of the created decks, things like that, and help other people out as well. Since I don't have a event, I will not be able to do that, so I'm looking for your help. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Take care, and looking